Hi, so I'm Vanessa Shaw, and I have here with us today Simone Costa. She's a senior coach. She's been working with TCU International as our Brazil specialist, and she's been bridging the cultural gaps between the European market and the Brazilian market. So Simone, it's really wonderful to have you here with us today. And could you just tell us a little bit about your background and experience working in Brazil and some things that are important to know about it?
Yes, thank you. Thank you for having me, Vanessa. Yes, I have been working for over 5 years with executive coaching and intercultural coaching for expats in Brazil. And I also work in the process of leadership development or leadership skills development for the Brazilian market.
Okay, great. And so what are some of the things that you've seen repeatedly that expats might encounter when they come to Brazil? What are some of the challenges that they discover when working there?
It's very interesting, your question, Vanessa, because I have among my clients quite a few experienced global leaders that have been doing projects in other regions of the world. So they are very, very experienced sometimes. But when they come to Brazil, they get surprised to see how different and how complicated it is here, even though they have been in China, in India sometimes, and it's still different. They know is that we are part of the emerging market, but it's still something different here. So I think this is the first impression that I get when I start working with them, that it needs, they need to have to give a special attention to the Brazilian market because it is a different culture. It's not just emerging market. You know, we're not all the same.
Right. Yeah. Good point. So you find that even experienced global leaders who have relocated many times still encounter new challenges. So it sounds like an interesting environment to be a global leader if you like challenges. But maybe, yeah, what are some of maybe a communication style differences that that they might be noticing when they arrive?
Well, I think the first thing that they need to understand that they can be the best possible leader that when they come to Brazil, they have to first be accepted in a very genuine way, just because of their professional reputation. Very often it's not enough for people to accept them. And if they don't accept them as a person, it will be very difficult to build those relationships which are crucial for their performance in Brazil. Mm-hmm. So yes, they have to take the time to get to know people in a much more personal way than they would need coming from the US or from Europe, where you go straight to business. So for most of them, just taking this extra time and talking to people in a very informal and personal way seems for them at first very uncomfortable and almost as a waste of time. So yes, that's very interesting. And I tell them that it is absolutely not a waste of time. This is part of the work, because without these initial connections, it will be difficult later on even to build trust. And so again, being accepted as a person is very important.
So communication styles, you're saying kind of personal approach, a bit informal, relationship focused.
Yes, I mean, when your question is very important here, because for us to talk about communication, if you come from a direct communication style culture, where you go straight to business, where you go straight to the task that you were there to do. This is one of the problems, because communication in a very contextual culture like Brazil is more than what you say. It's a lot about the way you say it and the even the respect and the listening that you are allowing to the person that you are talking to. So coming here and just imposing or informing people what you expect from them will not work.
Mm. Right. So starting too much with the head and just thinking about the information and tasks without recognizing kind of the full body competencies, we could say, about what am I sensing from this person, these kind of things. Really interesting. Do you have an example, or do you have any advice that you could offer somebody working in Brazil?
Yes, I have quite many examples. I will maybe share with you an example of someone that I have been coaching now for a few months. Extremely professional, with the best intentions to connect with people, to understand the culture. That has told me that colleague of him came and they were discussing some marketing strategies, and he was really straightforward to what his expectations were, and but in his way, coming from a very direct culture. What happened was, this person, it was a woman, she collapsed. She started crying. No. And left the room. And the executive, which had really the best intentions, could not understand what was in the situation that was probably not talked about, something that was not verbal, that has to do with context. Mm. So this is the most important aspect of communication here. What is being said is usually not a complete picture. Mm. So you as a listener have to actively search for information that would give you clues to understand the context. Mm. But the person that you are talking to, the person that is in front of you, very often is bringing the whole context and is using very indirect ways to tell you that you would not notice if you are just focusing on what is being said. So you have to share the responsibility of, first of all, understanding there is a lot to understand about this, and I have to. They have to trust you that they can tell you everything, and you have to be actively looking specifically with lots of open questions in a very empathetic way, expecting the problems and searching for the problems. So with time, they will tell you everything, but it takes time. It takes a lot of trust, I would say.
Yeah. So when you're telling the story, I'm just imagining the situation where one person thinks they're giving these nonverbal communications about what's happening, and another person feels they're being very clear, very communicative with their words, but somehow the interaction kind of breaks down trust and has a negative experience for everyone. And everyone just thought that they were being completely explicit, but in their own unique way.
Exactly.
Yeah, I can just picture the whole thing happening. And so you mentioned a couple interesting points here too, some tips. Could you just summarize what you said? You said you wanted to pay attention to some active listening, as well as looking for clues for the context, and also asking what type of questions. You said open, informed
questions. Yes.
Okay.
And let me give you an example again. In the case of project implementation, for example, you very often executives bring a project to Brazil, which was created in the headquarters and is ready, and it has been implemented in many other countries. And then when they come here and they just follow the procedures and follow the rules and just tell people, this is what we would like you to do. If you have any questions, let me know. And suddenly there are no questions. everyone seems to agree. And then 6 months down the line, they realize, oops, there's something wrong here because nothing has been done, absolutely nothing sometimes. And I have some business cases about this with clear examples where it was assumed that everything was okay. So it's a big surprise. So first of all, to be more concrete in my answer, the executive working here have to understand that he or she will not have all the information, will not know instantly if there is a problem. So you have to assume there are problems, of course, and you have to assume that Brazilians have a difficulty to talk about problems and to say no in general. So they will not directly knock at your door and tell you there's a problem with our project. You have to assume there would be many, because I mean this is the nature of our market. It doesn't work so efficiently as in other markets. So problems and delays especially exist. So when you are doing your planning, your timing for your project, you have to include a gap, you have to include a margin here to be able to deal and have time to deal with all the problems that you would for sure have that would not be clear in the beginning, because people, to keep the harmony, I would say, they just let it pass. But among Brazilians, we understand that there are problems that do not need to be talked about. But as a foreigner, and they ask, okay, if there's any problem, please let me know. But no one says anything, so they assume, okay, there's no problem. So you keep going. Yeah. So by the end of the project, there's this big surprise. I mean, why haven't you told me? But they don't really share that very easily. This is why, again, what we talked in the beginning, is so important to invest time in knowing people, so they would trust you. You know, with our colonial history, you know, being a foreigner, it is being an outsider, and there's a complicated relationship to foreigners. I usually say there's a love and hate relationship, because at first, you know, people feel very welcomed when they come here, but when it goes to the working environment, it's a different story. You have to work your way in to be able to belong and to feel as part of the local team. If you do that, then everything flows much better. So it's a sequence. It's actually a sequence of topics that as an expat or as a global leader you have to be aware of. First of all, I would say, again, to be accepted, to really make personal connections with people. The next step would be to make them trust you, that you are going to be dealing and handling with problems in delays in a nice and calm way, so they can come to you and tell you what the problems are. And the third one, I would say, is actually to assume that you are going to have to talk with people often in groups and also individually, go back and forth, talk to the same people in different situations, formal and informal, to have the complete picture and the complete information for you to make your decisions and move on. You know, you cannot be successful in Brazil, as far as I understand, without going through this whole process.
Yeah. So, and just to close, you know, it reminds me of what you said at the very beginning of, you know, when foreigners come in, they might see a lot of this personal relationship building, and, you know, the way you talk in the social environment at first as a waste of time. But if you can save time with your projects by establishing this rapport early on, then you'd find quickly that it wasn't a waste of time, that it was absolutely critical for the success to save time.
Exactly. You got the main point. You know, it is not a waste of time in the Brazilian culture to build relationships and get off the idea of having to be so professional with people. So yes, a personal life and professional life are very much mixed here. And if you're not comfortable to connect to people on a personal level, you're going to have problems because they will see you as an outsider coming here, you know, just trying to give orders and implement something that was not even created here. So the process of empowering people and making them important in the project, even though most projects are not really created for the Brazilian market, we know it, but people here need to feel that they are part of the decision-making process, and especially the adaptation of the project to the Brazilian market, and be able to feel part of this process. This is in a way how you build trust, and they will be very happy to help you if it is on this if they have this level of involvement and commitment.
Which of course you have to start with the relationship to get there. So Simone, it was so nice to hear from you today about this, and you know, it reminds me of the other video that you talked a bit about why also learning the samba and learning the tone and beat and tempo of the samba is also an important skill. So thank you again, and we'll be happy to speak with you again in the future about more things that a Brazilian leader or expat living in Brazil could do to work better and have more success there. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Vanessa. It was a pleasure.